Very well, actually. I had I'm here yesterday.
Okay, the time is approximately 6 p.m. and February 23rd, 2023 Farragut Board Mayor and Aldermen will now come to order. All Farragut Board and Mayor and Aldermen meetings are public noticed per Tennessee state law. Our meetings can be seen live on Charter Channel 193 and TDS Channel 3, as well as Farragut YouTube channel and our website. It will also be recorded. It can be viewed later on the Town of Farragut YouTube channel, as well as the Charter Channel 193 and TDS Channel 3. During the regular posted agenda, all comments or questions from Farragut residents will now be in person. If you're interested in speaking, we ask that you fill out a blue card with your name, address, agenda number, and turn it into the town recorder prior to the start of the meeting. The mayor, or in his absence, the vice mayor, shall maintain and control the meeting to provide a professional, objective environment. So please read the posted comment protocol and understand that there will be a 5-minute limit for each speaker, and please stay on topic, as at the end of tonight's business meeting there will be some time reserved for other public comment that does not pertain to an agenda item under the citizens' comment agenda. Okay, meeting call to order. We will start tonight with silent prayer, which will be followed by pledge of allegiance to our country's flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now ask the town recorder to please take an attendance roll call for a quorum.
Alderman Burnett.
Here.
Alderman Meyer.
Here.
Alderman Pavlin. Here. Alderman White. Here. Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams here. Okay, any agenda amendments?
No, sir.
None. Okay, I'll ask for a motion, please, to approve the February 23rd, 2023 agenda.
To approve. Second.
Okay, all in favor of approval, please say yes.
Yes.
Okay, let the record show the February 23rd, 2023 amended agenda has been approved as posted. Okay, approval of minutes. Are there any amendments to the minutes?
No, sir.
None. Okay, with none, I'll ask for a motion, please.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, all in favor of approval, say yes.
Yes.
Okay, let the record show the February 9th, 2023 minutes have been approved and will be recorded as official minutes of that meeting. Okay, we'll start. I will yield the floor to our town administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to, I know informally, everyone's had a chance to meet Ron Ostrike, our Parks and Rec Director. Ron comes to us from the Bolingbrook Park District in the Chicago, Illinois area. He spent 27 years there, and for some reason, he was a big Vol fan growing up. So we were able to get him down here to the East Tennessee area, and we were really certainly glad and happy to have someone with Ron's expertise to help run our Parks and Rec Department with the recent retirement of Sue Stool, our Parks Director. So, Ron, would you like to say anything or introduce yourself to the group?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen. Thank you for the warm welcome. I've been in full-on learning mode at the Parks and Rec Department, and I'm looking forward to a long career working with wonderful people and a great community. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you. Okay, next I'll move the floor to Vice Mayor Pavlin.
We have two proclamations tonight. One is to honor the Farragut cross-country team. Chelsea, I just wanted to, unfortunately, we didn't include you in the proclamation, and you're probably the most important thing because you've given these boys some really good guidance over the years. So Chelsea's been a coach for some years. How many years have you coached?
Since 2006.
So quite some time, and we appreciate y'all coming in, and we get to celebrate our teams, our kids. It's always a good thing. So Whereas the schools located in the town of Farragut are assets to our community and excel in many areas from academics to sports and other competitive activities. And whereas from time to time the achievements by individual students or groups of students are so great that they are worthy of notice and celebration. And whereas during the 2022 season, the Farragut High School boys varsity cross-country team and junior varsity cross-country team became the Knoxville Interscholastic League team champions, and whereas all 7 boys varsity cross-country team members earned all KIL with, is that how you say it? With, I have to make sure because I've been so out of this, with team member Trevor Coggin setting a new school record of 15 minutes, 13 seconds, and boys junior varsity cross-country team had a perfect score with 8 finishers in the top 10. And whereas the boys varsity cross-country team became Region 2 team champions with Trevor Coggin taking the individual win and all 7 boys varsity team members earning all region. And whereas the boys varsity cross-country team became AAA state champions with a score of 41 points with Trevor Coggin as runner-up and Braden Ebert and Mateo Tonas earning all-state. And whereas the boys varsity cross-country team became Nike Cross Southeast Regionals team champions with 3 finishers in the top 20. And whereas the boys varsity cross-country team placed 9th at the Nike Cross Nationals in Portland, Oregon. And now, therefore, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Farragut, Tennessee, do hereby congratulate the Farragut High School boys varsity and junior varsities cross-country teams for their accomplishments. Just the treat one. Congratulations, guys. Appreciate you coming. Yeah, you guys, we gotta layer up. There you go.
So you got your new
All right, our next proclamation is in honor of the Arbor Day Tree City USA proclamation. I hope, as you guys have come in, you've gotten a chance to look at all the essays and pictures drawn by our 3rd graders at Farragut Intermediate. We had a nice short presentation at the FIS on Friday, and then a tree planting. We were able to plant a pretty nice tree there. So they did some great work. You read some of these essays, and they're a lot smarter at 3rd grade than I was at 3rd grade. So it's pretty impressive. So. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and whereas on February 17th, the town partnered with Farragut Intermediate School and Tennessee Division of Forestry to recognize the numerous benefits derived from trees with a presentation to third graders. And whereas 1 week prior to the February 17 presentation, third graders at Farragut Intermediate School were asked to submit an essay with the prompt, "Why are trees important to our ecosystem?" And those essays are now displayed at the Farragut Town Hall. And whereas, in conjunction with Farragut Stormwater Matters, as part of the Arbor Day recognition, the town will be coordinating a tree giveaway at McPhee Park on March 4th. Now therefore, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the town of Farragut, Tennessee hereby proclaims, consistent with the state of Tennessee Arbor Day recognition, Friday, March 3rd, 2023 as Arbor Day in the town of Farragut. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Next, I'm going to ask for Karen Tyndall to come down and give us a report concerning the event that she put on last night.
Sorry, I was celebrating trees. Maybe they switched my glasses. Oh, no. They switched my glasses today, so now I'm in trouble. I didn't know we were doing this today. Good evening, board. So, let me pull up those stats that I sent out earlier. Last night we had a successful 4th annual Songwriter Showcase. It was hosted by one of our great restaurants in town, Daddy Mac's, and we had Ella Pinchok, former Alderman Ron Pinchok's granddaughter, open the stage for us as a young songwriter. She's 17 years old and is looking forward to, she's got her fingers crossed to attend UT and get a degree in music, I believe. And then after Ella finished up with her original songs, we had 3 songwriters take the stage. We had Mike Snodgrass, Addie Levy, and Jay Hokut. And Jay is actually a Farragut resident, so it was nice to have somebody who was truly a hometown person. We had 120 tickets reserved, and we had put 120 tickets in the kitty, so we called it a sold-out show last night. Thank you for stopping by and seeing us, Mayor. It was great. Daddy Max commented to me as I was cleaning up that they had about 3 times more patrons last night than they would have had on a Wednesday night, and they were like, when can we do it again? So that was great, but it was always, Songwriters Night is in conjunction with the Tennessee Department of Tourism Songwriters Week, which is always celebrated that last week in February. So I hope to carry it on again next year with a 5th songwriters, and I hope, if you were there last night, I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you missed it, you have to follow Visit Farragut on Instagram and Facebook to learn about all our fantastic events. So, and we did have some patrons who came as far away from Athens and Nashville, and they were staying in our hotels. So I would call that a really nice way to spend a Wednesday night.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We appreciate the effort that our groups put in. Next will be my portion of the mayor's report. And for tonight's mayor report, I want to start with an apology for what happened during the February 8th board meeting. I admit that I've been somewhat lax in my past meeting questions and answer procedures. But during my term, and for the past 42 years, for that matter, has not been a problem until that particular meeting. It is the mayor, or in his absence, the vice mayor's job to maintain control of the meeting, to provide a professional and objective meeting. I had no idea that it would get to the point that it did, and it definitely caught me off guard. Our job as elected officials is to listen to everyone who has input. It is also our job to do our research on agenda items prior to the meeting. In the past, I have allowed questions after the presentation by the applicant prior to the motion by our board. From this meeting forward, that will change. All questions will only happen by the board after a motion has been made and seconded. I will then ask the presenter to pause while we hear comments that are being brought forward to us by each Farragut resident, if there is any. Okay? I ask that each alderman take notes of the comments and the questions brought forth by the residents for future discussion or questions to the applicant. Afterwards will be the opportunity for questions and discussion by each alderman when they are called on. Each alderman should have clear and concise questions that are to the point. Our staff has spent a great amount of time preparing the packet that each alderman receives, and I would highly suggest that each alderman, while doing their initial research of that agenda item, reach out to our staff or the town administrator for clarity if they are unsure of the intent of that agenda item. Tennessee state law states that board members do not discuss any agenda item that is to be voted on amongst themselves prior to a posted meeting agenda. I also ask that each alderman be respectful to each other and conduct themselves in a professional manner. As board members, we can disagree with each other without being disagreeable. I would also suggest that if any alderman who cannot be objective on an agenda item due to past history of working or for an applicant to please or excuse themselves from the discussion and the vote taken on that item. We typically retreat to the break room in the back until the vote has been read into the record. Is there any questions? If there is, I'll be ready to answer those. Alderman?
Just make sure I understand. So going forward, there'll be a motion, a second, and then that's the time for questions.
Yes,
after
it
that.
will be.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, in that case, we'll move on. We'll start off. Tonight we have second reading on two ordinances, Ordinance 23-01, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinance of the Town of Farragut, Tennessee, pursuant to the authority granted by Section 62-201, Tennessee Code Annotated, by amending Chapter 109, signs, to replace the existing sign ordinance with a new ordinance. And Bart, you're up.
I'm Bart Hose. I'm the Assistant Community Development Director, and I'm here for second reading of Ordinance 23-01. It involves proposed amendments to the town's sign ordinance. As you all know, the existing ordinance was adopted in the spring of 2020 after quite a bit of work and input from a steering committee. That project involved rewriting the town's regulations in a more legally defensible, content-neutral form, and also making some other changes and updates to the overall set of regulations. Those regulations have been in place for almost 3 years now. Staff in working with them have identified some needed potential changes, and we've been working with the Visual Resources Review Board to, sort of vet those changes and go through those. The amendment project that we're looking at now has been reviewed by the Planning Commission and the VRB, and both those boards have taken action to recommend these changes on to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. There are, a number of changes. Some of the more significant ones involve the reintroduction of general occupant signs as a permitted type of sign, changes to the provisions for what we deem a peripheral accessory signs. Those are signs that are, entrance and exit signs at driveways and that sort of thing for businesses. Providing both those types of signs at residential subdivision clubhouses and those type of facilities, and then also making some provisions for non-residential construction site signs. There are, of course, other amendments, but those were some of the larger ones that will have quite a bit of impact in the community. At the last Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting, at its February 9th meeting, the board approved the ordinance on first reading with a couple of minor changes. The first was a minor wording change that affected section 109-12, subsections C1H and D1H, and it dealt with a clarification regarding the sign base and architectural compatibility. That wording change has been made. It's been inserted into the draft ordinance you have before you tonight. It's also been inserted into the into the language document that, shows the amendments in blue with some explanatory text in green. I believe all that was in your packet. The second minor change that was part of the motion on first reading was some direction to update the definition of athletic field as it appears in the sign regulations, in the sign ordinance, to better match the definition that was recently added to the town's lighting standards that appear in the zoning ordinance. When the staff went back and looked at that, we realized that the definition in the lighting standards is actually ball fields and not athletic fields, and it's a little narrower than the athletic field definition that's in the sign regulations. So we have not made that change yet in the ordinance, and we wanted to get some additional input from the board before we did, to make sure that, that's actually what you want to do. In your write-up here, I included both definitions as they appear, the ball field definition as it currently appears in the lighting standards in the zoning ordinance, and the athletic field definition as it currently appears in the sign ordinance. Really, the main difference there is, the ball field, like I said, is narrower. It does not include things like tennis and pickleball courts. So not having that in there would potentially open up those facilities for visible exterior signage. I wanted to bring that to your attention to make sure that's truly what you wanted to do. The two definitions do not need to match. They're two totally separate ordinances. They deal with different subject matter. It's fine to have different definitions of facilities or things in different ordinances, but before we actually updated the ordinance, we wanted to make sure that you were clear on that, and that's what you wanted to do. So, the staff is just requesting verification of that in conjunction with any motion on the second reading. We also put together, and I sent out to the board, just an example of, there was some discussion at the last meeting about why we were proposing to delete the ordinance in its entirety and substitute in, with this new ordinance, so basically a delete and replace. So we put together sort of a hypothetical amending ordinance that shows what that would look like for the first 7 of the amendments in the code. As I said, I sent that out, but I brought copies for y'all too, and that just spells out what that ordinance would look like. So if you want to discuss that in any way, I have that here.
Thank you.
As I said, that covers the first 7 of the text amendments in the thing. I think there were approximately 27 total. So, that format, if we were to do the ordinance that way, would continue on for 27 sections, each one dealing with a separate amendment, and then terminate, the way we typically terminate ordinances. So, if there's any discussion about that, or if anyone has any questions on that, we put that together just to try to clarify what the difference would be in the two approaches to amending the ordinance. That's what I have. I'll be here for any additional questions or any clarifications y'all want.
Okay, let's take a pause with the board so we can look this over. This has just been handed to us, so let's look this over. Has everyone had a chance to look at your, what Bart has given us? Okay. In that case, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do you want to keep the language, you mentioned the athletic field language?
Do we move to approve in the second, and then just, I thought we would talk about that. How do we?
Hey, David, do we need a motion with including in that motion the language that we're maintaining the athletic field definition, or do we?
You can always, to get it on the floor, you can make a motion to approve the ordinance as presented, and then you can make an amendment to add that if the board feels like that's something you want to do.
I mean, I'm happy to move to approve the ordinance with the language of the athletic field staying intact.
Second.
Okay. We're going to pause for any citizen comment.
There are no comments.
No comment? Okay. Then we'll move on to the discussion, and we'll start off with Alderman Meyer.
Pass.
Okay, Alderman Burnett.
Yeah, we'll just reiterate a little bit of what I said the first time, which is, this is a more business-friendly move on our behalf, and I think that's a great thing. It's also a more constituent or resident-friendly as well, because it meets them in the neighborhood in terms of wayfinding signs throughout neighborhoods, and then as well as new businesses. They're allowed to put signs out of what's coming soon, which is the question everybody wants to know. What's coming here, what's coming there? And that helps the business and it helps the residents. And so, yeah, nothing much to add, but appreciate all the work that went into doing it the first time, and then 3 years later, taking an exhaustive look at what we may have overlooked, because that always happens, and that's why we do this. So appreciate the work from staff.
Okay, thank you, Alderman. I have nothing. Alderman White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comments at the first meeting are a matter of record to my objection of deleting this ordinance and creating a new one. So, therefore, I have no further comment. Thank you.
Okay, sir, thank you. Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Thank you, Mayor Williams. I asked Bart to put together what this amendment would have looked like if he had gone in and just done each amendment separately, which is what you guys have, what he handed out to us. And essentially, there would be 27 of these. And knowing that we do our job, we have what ends up happening is, so I'll read section 1, Section 1, Section 109-6, definitions is amended to include the following definition. General occupant sign means a minor sign located on the door or adjoining a wall of a principal building's primary public entrance. So that one's easy enough. You can go in your definition section and see where we're adding that. The next amendment was Section 109-7, administration. Section B, 1, general application requirements and fees, is amended by adding the following language to the end of the subsection. So at this point, you got to go back to the original language ordinance, see where the original language was, and see where is subsection B1, and then I got to go and figure out, okay, where is the end of that subsection, because this is the language we're adding to it. And so I have to do that for every one of these 27 amendments would have to be done that way, where you're going in, looking at the ordinance, trying to figure out where this amendment is, putting that into the amendment. Okay, does that make sense to me? By the time you're doing 27 of them, you're going to be very irritated and wondering, what did I just read? So the reason and this is a perfectly suitable way to do an ordinance. We do this all the time when it's one or two, but when there's 27 and it's running through the entire body, it is easier to insert those into a new ordinance with the existing language. So all of this is existing language. We're not creating a brand-new ordinance. We are simply amending the existing ordinance, but we're doing it this way so it's legible, that we can understand it, that the public can understand it. Because if you handed this and the public had to go through and read 27 of these and try to figure out what they were reading, they'd be irritated too. I'm wondering, why is this so complicated? So we could have had the staff do it this way with all the complications, and then show us this way, but then that's extra work. I don't know that I want to put the staff through that. This is very tedious when you're doing 27 of them. That is all that happened here. This has gone through VRB and MPC, two workshops both, and then here, first reading for us is an opportunity for us to review it and make minor amendments as well, which is what we discussed. We discussed some minor amendments to it without impacting the meaning of what we're trying to approve here, which is gone through the VRB and gone through the MPC based on what BART is hearing from businesses and sign makers, that this stuff needs to be cleared up and this language isn't very clear, or, hey, you've left this out, can we readdress this? So reaching out and listening to our businesses has been something that people accuse us of not being business friendly. This is the business friendly thing to do, is to review, give it we passed it in 2020, give some time for it to be implemented and understand that everything needs to be tweaked. I know that Alderman White had some concerns about another portion of this that wasn't addressed in this amendment. There's nothing that says we can't go back and take a look at that. But this portion, what we have before us, has been fully vetted by the VRB, by the Planning Commission. We should be able to proceed with this amendment, and we can go back and address Alderman White's concerns in another section, but that would have to go through the same review process, VRB and Planning Commission, before it comes back to the board, because we want to make sure that we're getting that right and we're thinking about it. So with that, and I'm sorry that I got so wordy, there's one change I would make, and it's a spelling error. So on page 26, in the blue, it says existing ground signs being refaced or altered in a manner is MANNER.
Okay, sorry.
So that's the only change I have. And with that, I don't have any other comments.
Okay, then we need to address the differential in the two, either athletic fields or ball fields, or let it stand as,
He already put in his motion.
okay. Then, we good with that, David?
Yes, sir. I would just ask that whoever made the original motion, if they're good with the spelling correction, that they could amend their motion.
Although I
and the
used to be an
second.
English teacher and I didn't catch it, so that's why I'm now a CPA.
So I'll second that.
Then we're good.
Okay, with sufficient discussion, I'll ask the town recorder to take a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman Pavlin.
Yes.
Alderman White.
No.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show that the amended ordinance 23-01 has been approved by a majority of a roll call vote on a second reading, 4-1. Okay, next will be the ordinance 22-02, an ordinance to amend the Farragut Municipal Code, Chapter 22, Article 5, driveways and other excess ways, Section 22-149. Permit approval to permit access for single-family residential lot proposed onto a non-local street to be reviewed by engineering staff unless a concern is identified regarding the requested access, in which such case request shall be presented to the Planning Commission, Board Mayor and Alderman for approval. Town of Farragut applicant.
Good evening, I'm Mark Shipley. I'll present this item. As discussed at first reading, this amendment to our driveways and other access ways ordinance really just simplifies the process for a single-family house lot that accesses a non-local street, and that access could be approved by the engineering staff instead of having to go through both the Planning Commission and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen when the engineering staff has determined that the access is safe, it meets the site distance requirements, and it serves only one dwelling unit. It's just been a process that frankly has been bothering me for a while, and we just finally got around to amending it so that we can simplify this, and that these applicants don't have to go through two separate boards when they're just requesting a driveway for their dwelling unit. So ordinance 23-02 would support that change to the driveways and other access ways ordinance. It was unanimously supported by the Planning Commission in January and unanimously recommended for approval on first reading, and the staff recommends approval of ordinance 23-02 on second reading. And there have been no changes to the ordinance since first reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Do we have anyone signed up to speak
No,
on
sir.
this from our residents? None? None, okay. Then we'll start discussion with Alderman White.
None.
None. Alderman Meyer.
Pass.
Pass. Alderman Burnett.
Nothing new. Pass.
Okay. How about the Vice Mayor?
I have nothing.
Nothing. I have nothing as well. With discussion closed, I'll ask the town recorder to please take a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Pavlin.
Yes.
Alderman White.
Yes.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show that ordinance 23-02 has been approved by roll call vote on the second reading, 5-0. Okay, next will be business items. Looks like we have 3 business items on tonight's agenda to review and consider. And we'll start off with approval of contract for cybersecurity services.
Yes, sir. The purpose of this agenda item is to select a vendor to provide the cybersecurity consulting to identify opportunities to build a proactive strategy, enhance the security of the information technology network for the town. Due to the nature of the services being performed by the selected vendor, the scope of services and vendor information has been redacted per Tennessee Code 10504I. The cybersecurity services performed by the selected vendor will paint a clear picture of the town's cybersecurity risk environment and preparation for security threats. These services will also provide insight into the security gaps that remain present after changes have been made and are fully implemented. The contract for services is for $23,400 a year for a 3-year contract, and that will end on December 31 of 2025. And the motion is to approve the contract for the cybersecurity services for a 3-year contract in the amount of $23,400 per year.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, do we have any residents signed up to comment on this one? We do not. Then we'll start off with Alderman Meyer.
Pass.
Alderman White?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Just discussion.
Sorry, are we voting?
No, we're asking for comments. So you had no comments?
I passed.
Okay, you
Yes.
no comments?
No comments.
Okay. Alderman Burnett?
No questions.
Vice Mayor?
I have none.
None as well. Discussion closed. I will now ask all in favor of approval, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Okay, let the record show the contract has been approved as requested. Thank you, Allison. Okay, next will be approval proposal from MCCI for document scanning of community development and engineering documents.
Yes, sir. The town has utilized Laserfish, which is a content management software, for more than 15 years for the community development, engineering, historical documents. In 2007, the town contracted with MCCI, the vendor for Laserfish software, to scan a large batch of documents for the community development department. The large documents and plans are currently housed in the map room in the Community Development Department. With the future remodeling of the town hall, a portion of the map room will be utilized for additional office space. The documents will need to be scanned and stored due to space limitations. Scanning the documents will be beneficial for retention and future access. MCCI has presented a proposal for the scanning services, including secure document transport and scanning and indexing of all documents. The estimated volume is 17,000 large format documents and 50,000 regular sized documents for a total contract price of $37,791.97. It's estimated that it'll take 6 months for completion. The motion is to approve the proposal from MCCI for document scanning in the amount of $37,791.97.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, do we have any resident comments on this one?
No, sir.
None. Then we'll start discussion with Alderman Burnett,
No questions.
Alderman Meyer,
Pass.
Vice Mayor.
Just a real quick question, and I'm going to disclose how technologically challenged I am. So these things are scanned in. Will they be on a hard drive? They're in the cloud? Where?
They'll be housed with our data management company, who we have all of our information through.
Okay.
It's in a software. It's called Laserfish. We
Okay.
currently do use it for older building permits. You can look on there and see like site plans and
Okay.
and all kinds of information that we don't have to keep, but we keep it for the resident access.
Yeah, okay, so what will we do with the existing documents? Store them somewhere else? Are we going to get rid of them? What are we doing? Alderman Burnett loves paper.
He loves paper.
Shred it.
What we'll do is we'll house them at Public Works for a couple of years just to make sure that everything's intact and it's working
Okay.
properly.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, Alderman White?
No, sir, none.
No, okay, I have none as well. With sufficient discussion, I'll ask that all in favor of approval, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Let the record show the proposal has been approved as requested. Okay, next will be approval of Resolution 2023-04, participation with Buy-Board Cooperative Purchasing.
Yes, sir. This is to confirm the participation with the Buy Board, which is a national government purchasing cooperative. It's very similar to the other contracts we've done for Sourcewell and Omnia. And so the motion is to approve Resolution R 2023-04 for participation with Buy Board National Purchasing Cooperative.
Second.
Okay, any resident comments on
No,
this
sir.
one? None, okay. We'll start off with Alderman White.
No, sir.
None. Alderman Burnett.
No questions.
Alderman Meyer. Okay, Vice Mayor.
I have nothing.
I have nothing as well. With discussion now closed, I'll ask all in favor of approval, vote by saying yes.
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 Let the record show the resolution has been approved as requested. Next will be the Town Administrator's Report.
Mayor,
I'll yield
thank
the
you.
floor to David Smoke.
Sorry, Mayor. Yeah, a couple things for you tonight. One is this weekend, in honoring Black History Month, we have on Sunday from 1 to 3 here at Town Hall, the Black History Groundbreaking Geniuses. It's a Bright Star Touring Theater. They're going to be coming and doing a theatrical presentation that afternoon. So we're looking forward to having them here at Town Hall from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock on Sunday. Also, on next week, on Saturday, March 4th, we've got our Shamrock Ball. Daddy-daughter dance is what we like to call it around here. So it's Saturday, March 4th at the Community Center. Tickets are on sale online. It's 4 to 6 p.m. is the first session, and 7 to 9 p.m. is the second session on March the 4th. So we look forward to seeing everybody out there as well. And that's all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir. Town Attorney's Report.
No report tonight, thank you.
No report, okay. Citizens' comments,
Yes, sir. We have 3 speakers tonight. The first one is Jeannie Brakowski.
okay. Ms. Bukowski, would you step up to the microphone, please? Oh,
Good evening, everyone.
David.
My name is Jeannie Brykolski. I live on Crestview Road in the Bel Air neighborhood. My reason I'm here tonight is I have a list of questions I'd like to ask. I would like to read them, and then if you would like to answer them, fine, or if you want to make any comments on them here tonight, fine, or if you want to wait till another time for a full discussion, I'm fine with that. This is just kind of I just want to get the questions out there. Number one, there are some rumors flying around on social media that the mayor and the vice mayor want a property tax instated to fund a Farragut Police Department. Just want to know if that's true or not. Number two, did the lighting amendment, Ordinance 2212, remove the 28-foot maximum on the outdoor pole lights such as LED ball field lighting from the Code of Ordinance Appendix A, Zoning, General Provisions and Exceptions, Section 8, Outdoor Lighting, or is it still included in the ordinance? Number three, how much of the property that is the Biddle Town Center project area, how much of that property is zoned commercial? Number four, is that more or less commercial zoning than when it was still a private property before the town center was approved and construction began? Number five, how many stories will the apartments be at the Biddle Town Center project, and where will they be located? And how many stories is in the building going up behind Aldi's? Is that a residential or a commercial? And then number seven, I just kind of wanted to know, When was the Campbell Station Inn purchased by the town of Farragut, and who were on the board of mayor of Aldermen at the time? And those are all my questions. Thank you.
Allison, who's next?
I'm sorry. It's Kim Fresh.
Board, my name is Kim Frosch. I'm a recent graduate of the class of the Introduction to Farragut Class 2022. And as I begin, I would like to let you all know I want nothing that I bring to everyone's attention to be at all adversarial. I'm completely aware of the fact that we're all on the same team, that your goal, David and Jen Hatmaker, is to create a pool of volunteers who are civic-minded. I'm looking to solve a public safety problem at the St. John Court and Grigsby Chapel intersection. So, having been taught the correct way to bring this to the attention, I created case number CE 2023-17. I got a very timely and sensible response from Darrell Smith. Now, the principal of the school is extremely discouraged at this point because he knows the mothers are trying to get their children home safely who attend the St. John Newman Catholic School. And the problem is being exacerbated by people like me who live in Berkeley Park, who also live in the Battery. We have construction workers who really want to get home. And but I would like to take your attention to just a few highlights of the case and quote from what Darrell shared with me. That the matter was discussed at length during budget discussions in 2021. He also mentioned he's obligated to follow the guidance provided in the MUTCD. Have to respect that. He said, we could conduct a new traffic count and get a more updated analysis. He goes on to talk about CDM Smith providing their findings, etc. But he ends by saying, delays on St. John Court are normally only experienced for short periods of time, typically the drop-off or pickup times for students at St. John Newman School. That is the problem that I'm here to look for a resolution on. Now, one of the things that we learned in our class was that the town of Farragut has an annual surplus of $6 million per year that's been running and we've enjoyed every year for the last 10 years. Great, we have no debt. We have to thank our temporary taxpayers who live in Loudoun County, and all these folks have to get over here to Farragut to eat, to shop, etc. I was one of those people who contributed to this problem. So I went back to Rarity Bay, talked to some of my friends, and I said, how do you get to where you're going in Farragut? Well, we get on exit 72, sometimes it's 76. If we can get past exit 81 and get to Campbell Station Road, we'll do that. But when we come home, that's when we want to use the Grigsby Chapel corridor. And that is the corridor that literally blocks the exit from St. John Newman School to get out. So, from 3 to 3:30, that's where your steady stream of cars is crossing in front of St. John Court. We exacerbate the problem if we live back there because we're trying to get out and none of those mothers can get out and turn right to get onto St. John Court because the residents are in the way. Now, I talked to Captain Brad Hall, and he said, off-duty policemen are available at $40 per hour with a 4-hour minimum. That's $160 a day, or $800 for the week. So I know we're looking at an ROI on artificial intelligence for our traffic signals. Well, there's two camps in every kind of problem solving. WCB, we can't because. I invite you to put on a cap like mine that says, in what ways can we? So if we can't have a traffic light, how can we get these kids out safely and solve the public safety problem? Thank you. That's my 5 minutes.
Speaker is Michael Wilson.
Thank you there, Kim. Appreciate it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Before I start, if possible, could I provide to the board?
Yes, sure.
So, good evening, Michael Wilson, 412 Eisenhower Street, Farragut, Tennessee. I want to speak a little bit to the Farragut Business Alliance and some information I came across. What I've handed you is an IRS website that allows you to search for tax-exempt organizations. My understanding is currently the town of Farragut provides a automatic renewal of a $75,000 payment for the operations of the Farragut Business Alliance. And what I want you to notice is under IRS codes, nonprofit organizations that have gross receipts less than $200,000 but more than $50,000 are required to file a 990 EZ form or 990 form annually, and that's supposed to be done within so many days of the end of their fiscal year. If you look at the two screenshots that I provided you, if you look at the bottom right corner, I highlighted the date so you can see I pulled this today at 4:41 p.m. prior to coming to this meeting. The top is the actual search box, and you can see the little red circle there where it says copies of returns. When you hit on the copy of returns after placing the Farragut Business Alliance name in there, you end up with the copies of returns that the IRS has on file. I would note that they have records from 2015 to 2019, but there is no record on file, at least on this website, for 2020 and 2021. And I'm just wondering if any of you that sit on the Farragut Business Alliance board or the town administrator may understand if there's a problem with the taxes or if there's some holdup at the IRS that they're not being presented on their website as being filed for those years. So that's the first question. The second statement I'd like to make is if there is an issue with the tax filings, which I can't imagine there's an issue because they're a nonprofit organization, so they wouldn't have to pay taxes. I'm sure it's a matter of simply filing a 4-page form. I actually pulled that. The easy form is 4 pages. So the question, or I guess the comment I would have is, this $75,000 has been on auto renewal for a few years now. I don't know exactly how many, and I think the amount is still $75,000. I may be mistaken in the amount. But with that being said, I would encourage this board, prior to renewing funds, that the Farragut Business Alliance update these tax files for these last years and come back to the board and express that these have been done and that their tax filings are current. I think that would be prudent for this government agency to ensure that any business we're doing with an outside entity such as the Farragut Business Alliance is complying with federal law in filing their taxes. So unless there was some other reason, and again, that was my first question, is there some reason that these things haven't been filed, or is there some issue at the IRS level that they're being reviewed and just not been posted yet? So I make that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
That's all of our speakers. All right, I'm going to take a shot at some of these, Jeannie, for you. Is it true that the mayor and vice mayor wanted property tax and stated to fund a Farragut Police Department? No. Just leave it at that. I have always, I ran as a fiscal conservative that we were going to be responsible with our tax dollars. I believe that we have to take care of business and take care of, I know that people think we have this great big chest of money, but we don't have a property tax. We rely on business-generated revenue, so we have to be very cautious about the dollars we spend, every single one. I believe that the only way the town of Farragut should ever adopt a property tax is by a referendum. The residents want some service, a police department, or they want to adopt the schools, or they want an aquatic center. We better be on the front end of property tax to support any of that. So I've always advocated that during our workshops and our budget proceedings.
You addressed the mayor as well, so I'll reply. I ran on the same thing, no property tax. I looked at the vision that was given to us by the folks that started town. I know all of them quite well. And it was no property tax, ever how we had to do it, as far as the way we went about as far as being prudent and how we spend money, how we save money. So my answer to that, you said vice mayor and mayor, so my answer to that is also no.
I appreciate you reminding me of that, because that's what I say. That is a fundamental founding principle, that we were going to thrive without a property tax. So if this town wants to change how it does business, that belongs in a referendum. The 28-foot pole maximum height was not removed from the lighting ordinance. The Biddle Town Center project is still private property. It's always been private property. So it's just the zoning changed. The property, according to the traffic impact study, the Biddle Town Center project portion that was zoned commercial originally was about 29.5 acres. I'm going to assume you're asking here how much of that is now being used for retail and commercial is about somewhere between 8 and 9 acres is commercial and retail. The remaining is residential, and the multifamily portion is in the area that was originally zoned for commercial use. The Biddle Town Center apartments will be 4 stories. The building behind Aldi's, which I assume you mean is directly east of Aldi's, is a commercial building, and it has the look of, it has varying height difference, but between 1 and 2 stories. It's not 2 stories. It probably looks like 1.5 stories.
Starbucks-ish.
Yeah, yes. That's a good explanation. When the Campbell Station Inn was purchased, Ralph McGill was the mayor, Dot LaMarche, Ron Honkin, Jeff Elliott, and Bob Markley. I believe that's accurate. Is that who it was?
2012, and I know you can look on that wall back there and see their pictures, so that's where you can verify who was on the board at that time.
Mr. Fresh, I know that this is a struggle that we're still working through. There's some concerns about where they're going to site the school. Is that going to change the traffic patterns? I did get a chance to talk with, certainly dealt with Darrell Smith, and I spoke to the residents that live right there on Grigsby Chapel, who would have a traffic light in their front yard that we would only need for an hour a day. And I struggled with how to even advocate for that, because you'd have it on flashing the rest of the time. I'm not opposed to considering something, which a cost share with the church, because some of the issues are with certainly the residents. It's not all the school there. It's the residents are also having a hard time getting out during. But we're just kind of wondering how all this new school location is going to play out. That's one of the things that we've been struggled with. Mr. Wilson, I'm not going to come. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to tag on to his. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
The only other thing I was going to mention, and maybe Mr. Hall could add something to this, but you looked at the cost of having an off-duty police officer, and it's my understanding that they don't need to be off-duty police officers to direct traffic, that you can have a person take a pretty inexpensive course for a couple $100, and they can be certified to go manage traffic on a, I don't know what kind of scale, smaller scale, but they could certainly do what's needed to be done, what would help out there. And that would be, Miss Page has done that for the Farragut schools for so long, and when she's not there, it's a cluster. And so I know at one point in time there was some a traffic guard out at the school, right? Was it?
Yes, and they moved her, yeah.
She left. I guess things got even more worse. So that may be something to look into. I know the off-duty police officer is expensive, but my understanding, can I get some corroboration here that
I do think there are traffic safety courses that people can take to direct traffic at a much lower rate.
Right.
The question is finding somebody to be able to do that.
Sure.
Correct.
And I'll tag on to that because I was one of those mothers who were taking their kids home every day from St. John Newman. My youngest daughter, Sophie, just graduated. Now she goes to Catholic, but she went to St. John Newman. I share your concern. I advocated for a stoplight there. I have a little bit of a different opinion from the vice mayor. In that I think there should be one. I can't justify it until we figure out where the new elementary school is going to be. I think if they will move the new elementary school, that will impact some of the traffic, so I've held off on it. But I was the one that got the parents to send all the emails to the Board of Mayoral Aldermen. Mr. Derbyshire knows me very well, and I share your pain. I will tell you, driving my freshman to Catholic high school, I sit in the traffic on Grigsby Chapel now, and it is dangerous. But and to Alderman Burnett's point, yeah, you can take a class, and I think it's very creative. Nobody wants to take on the liability because if you're directing traffic and there's an accident, guess who's going to get sued? The person out there directing the traffic. So the school's already looked at that, and they don't want to take on the liability. So, but thank you for sharing your thoughts, and we are certainly on top of it, definitely.
May I have the floor a moment, Mayor?
Most certainly. It's
Just for one point, and of course I can be proven wrong, but I don't think so. I was heavily involved in the, the lighting. But I think if you look at the new ordinance, you won't find the 28-foot in there anywhere.
okay. Thank you, Alderman. Anything else?
No, sir.
Oh, no, sir. Okay. Vice Mayor,
And
you want to continue?
Mr. Wilson's points, Mr. Kropaski's in the room. I'll certainly hand this off to him to get clarity on that. With regard to the MOU we have with the FBA, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen's in the middle of an economic development strategic plan. Hopefully, we're wrapping that up soon. Certainly, looking at the relationship with the FBA and the funding and what we're looking for out of Shop Farragut is all on the board for discussion. It's kind of where we are right now. That's they're working through what to present to the board, and we're working through how the future direction of Shop Farragut. So that's remains to be seen in this before we do our budget this year.
Okay. Any other speakers?
No, sir.
None? I think we've pretty well covered the questions. Time is approximately 7:04, and without objection, February 23rd, 2023, Farragut Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting is now adjourned.